Europe, welcome to Barcelona. Thank you for being here with us today. Agraeixo a l'Acadèmia Europea, en nom de la ciutat, que a Barcelona cooperem mitjançant el Barcelona Knowledge Hub en favor de la ciència i el coneixement i, en especial, una vegada més, agrair-li al professor Mas-Colell l'esforç professional i personal en cultivar els valors de la democràcia, els drets humans, la cultura i la confiança en la ciència i el compromís amb un benestar inclusiu a la ciutat amb iniciatives com aquesta, amb iniciatives com el Premi Hipàtia. Let me now switch into English. Barcelona has a profound civic pride and a fervent love to science. This scientific tradition has surged now with remarkable momentum. Our legacy of intellectual pursuit and underpinned by two core pillars, our social commitment to knowledge as both a public good and a civil right, and our forward-looking vision that places research at the nucleus of social progress. That is the Barcelona's vision for 2035, a vision for humanistic values, equality in all disciplines, promoting women talent in science and innovation. Throughout history, each successive generation has played a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of Barcelona's intellectual legacy. Today, we are responsible to fortify Barcelona's position as a cornerstone of science and innovation within Europe. Barcelona today stands with the values of truth and trust in science. And Barcelona faces off against those who threaten democracy. In Barcelona, we were considering the European stage, as Jacques Delors said, whose passing in 2023 marked a profound loss. Cities are essential elements of the European project. And I am convinced that the European future will have two key drivers. By one hand, cities, and on the other hand, science and innovation. Continuo en català. Seguint aquest esperit, el Premi Europea-Barcelona Ciència Hipàtia reconeix diverses disciplines científiques per enriquir el benestar de la humanitat i del planeta. Hipàtia va ser una dona excepcional en molts àmbits: filòsofa, astrònoma, matemàtica, però sobretot el seu nom ha arribat avui, als nostres dies, com una dona que va saber combinar i transmetre els seus coneixements independentment de la religió del seu interlocutor. Hipàtia entenia la ciència com un bé comú per tots, contribuint al progrés i a la democràcia, sense discriminacions. Avui reconeixem amb el IV Premi Europea-Barcelona Ciència Hipàtia un excel·lent deixeble de l'esperit d'Hipàtia. Reconeixem una dona excel·lent en ciència i avui donem aquest premi a la doctora Nuria Oliver, referent mundial en l'ús de la intel·ligència artificial en diferents àmbits que comparteixen un objectiu comú: utilitzar el potencial de la intel·ligència artificial per millorar la qualitat de vida de les persones. La doctora Nuria Oliver va trencar un sostre de vidre. De fet, la campanya d'enguany de l'Ajuntament de Barcelona, la campanya de comunicació que estem llançant amb motiu del 8 de març, és justament com les nenes d'avui han de tenir referents adults, també en l'àmbit de la ciència, per trencar els sostres de vidre, que s'uneixen d'aquesta manera els valors que la ciutat de Barcelona vol representar a Europa i a tot el món: l'humanisme tecnològic, la ciència i el feminisme. Vull agrair públicament que hagis denunciat, per cert, els riscos i els problemes en el benestar i amb la salut mental de les persones de menor edat, dels nens i de les nenes, que poden produir i que produeixen, de fet, les xarxes socials. Defensar un ús responsable de la tecnologia és una missió compartida per tots els responsables polítics, però també ho ha de ser del conjunt de la comunitat científica. De fet, Barcelona va declarar, ara farà 2 setmanes, problema de salut pública l'abús de les xarxes socials i treballarem com a administració intensament per promoure'n un ús responsable. Today, the City of Barcelona recognizes the value of Dr. Nuria Oliver, and by doing so, we recognize talent, women talent, and we set an horizon for everyone. Thank you very much. Moltes gràcies. Visca la raó, visca la ciència i visca Barcelona.
Gràcies, alcalde. Felicitats, doctora Nuria Oliver. Benvingudes i benvinguts a l'entrega del Premi Europeu de Ciència Hipàtia, un premi que, com ara deia l'alcalde, fa un reconeixement a la millor trajectòria d'una persona en l'àmbit científic i de passada posa Barcelona en el focus del coneixement i la investigació. Avui, en aquest acte, el que farem és entregar aquest guardó. Before, a few words from the President of the European Academy, Professor Marja Makarow, whom we welcome.
Dear Mayor of Barcelona, Mr. Collboni, dear authorities of the Barcelona City Council and the Generalitat government, dear Professor Bertranpetit, dear Hipàtia laureate, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to address you today in this absolutely magnificent venue, and it's a great honor for Academia Europaea to serve the Barcelona City Council in the evaluation process of the Hipàtia candidates. As you know, Academia Europaea is a learned society, a pan-European one. We cover 44 European countries and all scientific and scholarly disciplines, all the way from mathematics to artistic research. We have currently 5,400 members who are frontier scientists, and amongst them, 85 Nobel laureates and 223 Spanish members. Academia Europaea runs knowledge hubs, and they extend from the north, from Bergen in Norway, to Barcelona in the south, and from west in Cardiff, the UK, to the east, Tbilisi in Georgia. Now the Barcelona hub here focuses on activities covering now not only Catalonia, but also, of course, the whole of Spain and the Mediterranean region, under the academic directorship of Professor Bertranpetit. So he succeeded the founding academic director of the Barcelona hub, Professor Ricard Guerrero, maybe some 1.5 years ago. And the hub, and we will hear about this later on, I'm sure, runs an impressive program from science for citizens to science and arts. And as we heard, the Barcelona Hipàtia European Science Prize was launched by the City Council of Barcelona in collaboration with the Barcelona Knowledge Hub and within the framework of the Barcelona Science Plan. Now, across Europe, we admire Barcelona for its huge success in research and innovation. And this is evidenced by the success in the most competitive EU programs, such as in the European Research Council grants for fundamental research and the European Innovation Council grants for innovation and commercialization of research findings. Now, the fundamental requirement for such a success, of course, is talented and motivated researchers, but this is not enough. They have to have an excellent research and innovation environment to flourish. And this is the environment something that has been provided by the Catalonia and Barcelona policy makers. Now, the Barcelona research and innovation ecosystem is an absolutely splendid example of the impact that the partnership between academia, the public sector, and the private sector together can have. So I wish to thank the Barcelona City Council for this wonderful partnership with Academia Europaea on behalf of the Board of Trustees of Academia Europaea. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your words from the President of the European Academy. Now, what we are going to do is anunciar-vos l'actuació del grup musical, que és més aviat un projecte musical, Fisis, format per Edurne Arizu, Fèlix Pastor i Enric Guaus, també Robert Martínez, que han fet un tríptic sonor. Avui escoltarem dos dels tres temes. A continuació, Music, a continuació el primer, Teixis. Gràcies. És el projecte musical Fisis amb el seu tema Texis. D'aquí una estoneta podrem escoltar un altre dels vostres temes. A continuació, donem la paraula al professor Jaume Bertranpetit, director acadèmic del Hub de Barcelona de l'Acadèmia Europaea. He will give us a presentation of Nuria Oliver, as you know, winner of this edition.
Thank you very much. Primer de tot, estic molt content de poder estar aquí seguint aquest ritual que ens ajuda a potenciar la ciència. Gràcies, alcalde, gràcies, Jordi. Benvolgut alcalde, benvolguts regidors, benvolguts amics en general i la família de la Núria. To be here is to thank for the ones that are allowing us to go on in our commitment to the European Academy and to science and to society. First, the City Hall, no doubt, with the politicians, with Anna Brown that is around. I haven't seen her yet, but fundamental in all that. The Catalan government with the General Director of Research, Joan Gómez Pallarès, the Foundation Catalan for Research and Innovation with its director, Jordi Mas, the RACAP, the Royal Academy of Science and Arts of Barcelona with Jordi Zen as president, allowing us to use their magnificent main room, the Academia Europea with Maria here with us. And the Academia, in fact, the Academia Europea has a main director and some decentralized activities in the hub, as Maria has been explaining us, and we have a very strong and powerful steering committee with Andreu Masculleny, Ramon Gomis, Genoveva Martí, Àlex Fidora, and Marcel Esbarz. They are looking always to be sure that everything is running fast and well. The Barcelona Knowledge Hub is running many different activities from our center, which is at the Catalan Foundation for Research and Innovation, and the fantastic work of our hub manager, Maite, that is here. Thank you, Maite. And our activities are in several ways and several areas. And what we need is to be present in what happens in academia for the society, both around us, Barcelona, Catalonia, Spain, Mediterranean, and also all over, because all the activities we are doing are being always transmitted by Zoom all over the world. So we are in the way of making us much more recognized. What we are doing is the dialogues in the form of frontiers that are discussions at the very high academic level, transmitted by Zoom and later posted in our website. And these dialogues always, they have two sides. One side of science and technology, and the other one that is the social activities, the social impact of this development. Today, with Nuria, you are going to see that we will have the two parts together. Thank you, Nuria. The second part is the dialogues as Agora, that are in Catalan or in Spanish, that is for the dissemination of science and social implications. Then one day we have the main dialogue called Disputatio, and this one is also held in the town hall. The last one we had some months ago was on the origin of human violence. That was really a brilliant dialogue that academia can produce, and let's hope that will have an impact. We have also some activities, not as much as we wanted on arts and science, and also we are going to organize the new frontiers, building bridges, symposium of the Academy here in Barcelona next year. I have to thank the main reason we are here, which is the Hipàtia Prize. The Hipàtia Prize, I have to thank first to the jury that was fantastic in studying the CVs and choosing the person that all of us are really proud. We want to thank. Related to the Hipàtia Prize, have a look here, and we have a sculpture made by the well-recognized sculptor Sergi Aguilar that is among us. Sergi, could you stand up, please? I want you to be recognized by everybody. So Sergi Aguilar, that has a couple of big sculptures in the city of Barcelona, has also done this wonderful prize that I hope that Nuria will appreciate. So at the end, what we intend to do is to help in dissemination science, showing the advance of science and technology with the social and humanistic implications in the frontiers of dialogue, and helping, we'll try to help that we want to have in Barcelona some of the examples of conversion of what we call from STEM to STEAM, meaning that we want to push also the arts to be with science and technology. So today we are here to recognize the work of Nuria Oliver. It's very pleased to announce this award and as an international expert in artificial intelligence. So I can tell you that to be able to give the prize, the well-recognized Hipàtia Prize to a woman first and work in artificial intelligence, this is the maximum we can get. So thank you, Nuria, for having helped us to make very easy the decision. She's scientific director, co-founder of the Ellis Foundation Alicante, and member of the informatics section of the Academia Europaea since 2018. She receives the award with an important endowment for her research and development of new methods of AI systems to promote a positive social impact. She has a degree in telecommunication and in engineering from the Polytechnic University in Madrid, and a PhD in media art and science from the MIT. This is what we all dream to have all over the world. She has focused her research on modeling individual and aggregate human behavior using machine learning techniques. And here comes where social sciences may increase a lot, looking and learning from technology. And she has been in the creation of intelligence and interactive systems, covering various areas of social impact, including health and well-being, financial inclusion, and natural disaster. She has been working in many different places in the private sector, and she has been a data scientist and in Vodafone, in Telefonica, but the main point here is that the role she has had in ELIS, the European Laboratory for Learning and Intelligence Systems. Moreover, she is passionate about scientific and technological dissemination, so she's very good in media appearance, and she's able to convince of many different things, I can tell you. So I will use to end up these presentations by some words that were written by Jordi Valls. The importance of consolidating the European Hipàtia Prize with the beginning of the second triennium, and doing so by rewarding Dr. Nuria Oliver, a world leader in the use of artificial intelligence in different areas that share a common goal, use the potential of artificial intelligence to improve people's quality of life. 3 days ago, I was listening to a talk by Yuval Harari, the author of Sapiens, and he posed for the future 3 questions. So he said, the world has to understand 3 things: the ecological problems we are facing, the social implications of artificial intelligence, and the possibility of a new world war. The second one is the one we are tackling today, and we celebrate having you with us. Thank you, Nuria.
Thank you, Professor Jaume Bertranpetit, for these words about Hipàtia winner, Nuria. Feta la presentació de la premiada, passem ara a fer la lectura de l'acte del jurat en què argumenta aquesta decisió. Considerades les candidatures proposades en resposta a la convocatòria, els membres del jurat internacional van acordar per unanimitat proposar com a guanyadora de la 4ª edició del Premi Europeu de Ciència Hipàtia a l'àmbit de les ciències experimentals i tecnologia, incloses les matemàtiques, la doctora Nuria Oliver, directora científica i cofundadora de la Fundació Elis Alacant, pel seu desenvolupament dels nous mètodes i sistemes d'intel·ligència artificial basats en la modelització del comportament humà individual i agregat mitjançant tècniques d'aprenentatge automàtic per impulsar un impacte social positiu. Now, it's time to present the Hipàtia European Science Award to Nuria Oliver, to whom we congratulate again. L'alcalde Jaume Collboni and the president of the AE, Marja Makarow, will give the award to her.
Well, bona tarda, good afternoon. Il·lustríssim senyor alcalde de Barcelona, el senyor Jaume Collboni, presidenta de l'Acadèmia Europaea, la professora Marja Makarow, director acadèmic del Barcelona Hub de l'Acadèmia Europaea, el professor Jaume Bertranpetit, autoritats, amics i amigues. És un gran honor per a mi rebre aquest premi que accepto amb molta il·lusió, sorpresa i encara amb més humilitat. M'agradaria expressar el meu més profund agraïment a l'Acadèmia Europaea i a l'Ajuntament de Barcelona per l'organització d'aquest important i necessari premi. Gràcies també al jurat per la seva decisió. La veritat és que m'ha sorprès molt quan he rebut la trucada per comunicar-me la notícia d'aquest premi. Un premi amb l'objectiu de contribuir a dar visibilitat a la ciència i a promoure, reforçar i maximitzar el nivell europeu, el valor de la recerca d'excel·lència i el seu impacte sobre la societat. The name of the award, Hipàtia, highlights the figure of a philosopher and a scientist, Hipàtia of Alexandria, a woman that was able to combine all the different sciences at the time to have impact and to share it with the society. And she was assassinated by forces of ignorance and fanatism. This award is a recognition of a scientific career for several decades, and because of that, I would like to share it with all the people and all the institutions that have always supported me and that have always believed in me, even if I didn't even believe in myself. Starting with my family and my parents, my friends, my teachers and professors, my collaborators, my colleagues, my bosses, my mentors, my husband and my children, and especially all the researchers, past and present, that have collaborated with me during my career. This award is for all of you, for all of them, because without their help and without their support, I wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't have achieved all we have achieved together. And I would like to dedicate this award to all the female scientists in technology, women that many times are invisible, remain in the shadows, despite their really hard work. And I would like that this award helps to make them, to make us more visible and more relevant. So thank you very much, gracias. And after this short thank you words, I will share with you a presentation that has two parts. In the first part, I will share my personal journey in artificial intelligence since I was a teenager. And in the second part, I will share a little bit about the history of artificial intelligence to explain why we are where we are today in this field. So let's start with the first part, which is my personal journey in AI. So I am from Alicante in Spain, and I don't come from a technology family at all. My parents are in humanities. I never used technology when I was growing up. I didn't know what an engineer was. I studied in this high school, a public high school, but I was always fascinated by the idea of a scientist, an inventor, a person that discovers something. I love mysteries, I love puzzles, so I always chose the scientific branch in high school. And in my last year, Easter holiday, so almost when I had to choose something, I had the opportunity to meet with a friend of my brother's who was studying telecommunications engineering in Madrid, and he explained to me what that was, and it was the discovery of technology for me. So I decided that I wanted to study the same thing, and that's what I did. I applied to the School of Telecommunications Engineering in the Polytechnic University of Madrid, and I got accepted, and it was really the discovery of technology in my case. And I realized at the time the power that technology has to have positive impact in society and to help people. I lived in a dorm, and I was also selected by Siemens to be part of an international program called the International Studentenkreis. It was an international program to identify some of the top engineering students in the world, to offer them the opportunity to work in the summers at Siemens and learn about how it was engineering sort of like in the real world. In my case, I wanted to be a scientist, so I was able to work 2 summers in the research lab that Siemens has in Munich, which is called, they call it Legoland, for a reason. And I was able to sort of experience how it was research outside of the academic world. During the undergraduate degree, a professor of mathematics offered me the opportunity to write a paper for a conference in Rome, and I chose to write about biological neurons versus computational neurons, and it was my discovery of AI. I had always been fascinated by the brain and by the fact that we can learn, and I thought it was even more fascinating that I could actually make computers learn. I thought that was like magic. So I always say it was love at first sight, because at that point, I really decided that I wanted to devote my life to building technology that could help us, and to do that, it had to have some kind of intelligence. So when I finished, my dream was to go to the United States to do a PhD in some of the best universities in the world. But how could I go? I didn't have any reference. I didn't have anyone in my family that was there. And I discovered a very competitive, very attractive program by La Caixa Foundation. So I was really excited. I applied. I was lucky enough that they gave me one of these fellowships. So it was thanks to Catalunya, in a sense, and to a Catalan institution that I was able to achieve my dream and go to MIT in Boston to start my PhD. And within MIT, I had the opportunity to go to a place that I think it was unique in the world, which was the Media Lab, at a time when we were really inventing the future in the Media Lab. My goal was to invent technology that will help us, and I thought the first step is to make technology that can understand us, because how can it help us if it doesn't understand how we feel, what we do, where we are? So I wanted to build computers that would understand some aspects of human behavior, and I started with a project called Laughter from 1996, where the challenge and the goal was to see if I could make the computer recognize human emotions, something that today we can do with our mobile phone, but at the time, it sounded like science fiction. So I built this system. It had this camera that you could control, I would control computationally, automatically, and the system would automatically detect the face of the person and the mouth of the person, and it would interpret the face and the mouth, and it would just classify and recognize the facial expressions. This is how it was working, how it was detecting. This seems very primitive today, but at the time, there was really no system that was working in real time. This is a younger version of myself. And then with the system, you could do a lot of cool things. For example, you will see in the video, you could have a virtual window into a different space. So because the camera was an active camera, it was tracking the person. You could have a camera in a different place. In the example is another room at MIT, in another building. And simply by moving, you could explore the other space with very little latency. So that was sort of like a first step towards having immersive environments and the opportunity to be in a remote place without really being there. And the system also allowed to animate computer graphics in real time, as you can see here. So this was, we called it the virtual mirror, and there's this little puppet that is sort of like doing whatever I do. So whatever emotions I do, the computer is recognizing the emotions, and then the puppet is like doing the same emotions. So that was sort of like a first example of building technology that would recognize some aspects of human behavior. I did other projects, but then I realized that we humans obviously are very complex, and we're a social species, and a lot of our behavior is interactive behavior. And at the time, there was no way to model human interactions. It's a lot more complex than modeling an individual behavior. So I set the challenge to invent some kind of machine learning algorithm that would recognize interactions. And I built a system that was looking out of the window from my office, and this is what I could see. We just see up here, there's a little plaza there. And there were a lot of people walking around in that plaza, and I wanted the system to recognize when two people were meeting, when one person was following another person, when maybe one person was attacking another person, and so forth. So I didn't know if it was possible to do at the time, but I invented some algorithms to be able to do that, and this is an example of how the system was working. So here is interpreting what this person is doing. So it says he's walking, and then it detected that the person was changing direction, and it was going to interact with his other person that was over there. So completely automatically, the system is able to understand that there is a human interaction happening in real time. Again, we can do this today. We take it for granted many times, but in 1997, 98, this was something that hadn't been done before. While being at the Media Lab, we had a lot of other opportunities, and one of the big opportunities was to work on smart clothes and wearable computers, and also on augmented reality. So it was the time when augmented reality was being defined. We were some of the first people to have access to augmented reality goggles, and we made a system for museums where using artificial intelligence, it would automatically recognize the paintings in the museums, and it would just play a video explaining the painting. Again, something that we can do today with our mobile phone, but it was very innovative, like 25 years ago. And we also had the opportunity to organize the first smart clothes fashion show in the world in 1997, I think it was, in collaboration with some of the best fashion schools in the world, where we added the technology to the designs. And I wanted to show to you a video. I don't know if in the control they can click on this in the video. There is a video from, I think it was CNN or CBS, where, if it's not possible, it's okay, where we were like showing all the different designs. Moving on to a different area also related to modeling human behavior for having positive impact. The Media Lab, they gave us a car, and they asked us to do something interesting with the car, and I wanted to have safer driving, so I wanted to build a car that could predict the most likely maneuver that the driver would do, so we could have safer driving. Again, it's something that we have today in many cars, but it hadn't been done at the time. And in the process of building this car, I also had the opportunity to learn how to race cars. So this is a picture of me racing a small Formula 4 car. So I tell this because many people think that being a researcher is boring and you're always in the lab. And I want to illustrate that actually it's a fascinating profession where you have opportunities that you never thought you might have. So I want to show you a video of how the system works. This is the system in predicting what the driver is going to do. I installed 4 cameras in the car. The cars didn't have any cameras at the time. And as you see, what is interesting here is that the AI algorithm knows before the person changes lanes or before the person passes that the person is going to pass. And the fact that it can predict it is what enabled a safer driving, because if you wanted to change lanes and there was a car behind you, the car could prevent you from changing lanes. When I finished my PhD, I wondered whether to come back to Europe or to continue in the US. It was a long story, but I eventually decided to stay in the US, move to the West Coast, and I joined Microsoft Research, the research labs from Microsoft. I continued working on similar topics. I built a smart room. I built a system with a colleague that enabled people to move windows in the air, like in the movie Minority Report, which eventually became very useful for video games. And in 2004, I realized that I wanted to build technology that helped people. And even at the time, I thought that the most personal computer and the computer that could help people the most was the mobile phone. So I decided to focus almost exclusively on how to explore the potential that mobile phones have to help us, to help each of us. So I did some really early projects, like this one that you see here. That's a very modern smartphone of the time. I think it was 2005. And it was a system, it was, I think, one of the first systems in the world to detect sleep apnea using the mobile phone. I thought, we spend a third of our lives sleeping. We don't know what happens when we sleep, but the phone doesn't sleep. So if I could use the phone while we're sleeping, we could actually better understand what is going on, when we are sleeping. And a very heavily undiagnosed condition when we sleep is a sleep apnea. It's a disease where we stop breathing in our sleep, and we don't die because a signal is sent to the brain that makes us gasp, but it has a lot of negative consequences in health. It increases the risk for cardiovascular disease. It increases the risk of having accidents because you're very sleepy during the day, and so forth. So I built this system where, as you see, there were no wearables, so I had to make the hardware for this system and connect it to the phone.
Monitoring
and
system.
then it would automatically
hardware
put the system
consists
before
of a
going
flexible,
to bed, and then it would
continuous blood
detect if you
oximeter
had
by
sleep
Nona.
apnea or not using a blood oximeter and accelerometer.
An AD converter
I
and some
also
additional
was very
electronics.
interested in the intersection, and I still are, between technology and wellness. And in another project, we explored if we could use the mobile phone as a personal coach to help us achieve our exercise goals, particularly when we go running or we go walking. And here, one of the main innovations was using music. So we made a system that it would automatically select the right song to play that will make the person run faster or run slower, so they would achieve their exercise goals. I don't want to go into too much detail about the project, but you can find it online. And we validated it with runners, and it was able to help people very significantly, simply by being intelligent in how to select which songs to play. Being at Microsoft, so I had the opportunity to do demos with Bill Gates and to enjoy other experiences at Microsoft, for example, the Puzzle Hunt, which is a very intense 36-hour competition to solve very complicated puzzles, but that's what I like, so it was a really, really fun experience. I really never thought that I was going to be able to come back to Europe when I was in the US. And again, I always say Catalonia gave me the wings to be able to leave, and Catalonia gave me the opportunity to come back, because out of the blue, I got phone calls by a headhunter offering me the opportunity to come to Barcelona to create a research area within Telefónica R&D related to AI, data analysis, and so forth. I said no many times because I didn't think it was going to be real research, but eventually I realized that it was a serious effort. And with my family, we moved back here to Barcelona, and I helped create this research organization within Telefónica R&D. Being in a telco, of course, we did a lot of projects related to the use of mobile phones for social good. We did a project for medication compliance, MobiPill. We did projects in developing countries, for example, how to infer a credit score for the unbanked, the people that don't have a bank account but have a mobile phone, and how the mobile phone can be helpful for that. Or a very interesting project on how to, if it was possible to have our phones detect if we were bored, and maybe, why not, maybe we should design technology that suggests that we turn it off. If my phone knows that I'm bored, maybe it should tell me, Nuria, you're bored, maybe you should do something else, turn me off. Why don't we design technology that is on our side? So these are some of the projects that we did while at Telefónica, and the new area that opened up to me by moving here and working in a telco was the area of leveraging large-scale data captured by the mobile network for social good. Data that could help us make better decisions in the context of a natural disaster or in the context of a pandemic, or will help us understand, for example, and detect crime hotspots in cities, or infer automatically the socioeconomic status of a region. So I became really excited and fascinated about the opportunities that data combined with AI had to be a driver for social good. And we did many, many projects on that front. At the end of 2015, for personal reasons, we moved to Alicante, my hometown, which I never thought it was ever going to happen. I continue working remotely for Telefónica R&D, and since 2015, I've been collaborating with this NGO, Data Pop Alliance, which has as an objective the use of data and AI for social good. So very related to this last area. Eventually, I left Telefónica and I joined Vodafone as the Global Director of Data Science, working remotely from Alicante. And I also created at Vodafone the area of using data and AI for social good. I also collaborated with Vodafone's think tank, which is the Vodafone Institute. And in 2018, worried about the lack of competitiveness of Europe in AI, and worried about the brain drain of brilliant minds working in AI and leaving Europe, together with other scientists, other European scientists working in AI, we created ELIS, which means the European Laboratory for Learning and Intelligent Systems, with the goal of creating opportunities for the best minds to be able to stay in Europe, to attract new minds to Europe, and also to educate the next generation of excellent talent working in AI to Europe. Within ELIS, there is different initiatives, and one of them is the creation of ELIS units. And with the support of the Generalitat Valenciana, we were able to get one ELIS unit in Alicante. And the ELIS unit in Alicante is special because it's the only unit that is devoted to research in AI for social good, in ethical and responsible AI for social good, because I think it is a pressing need today, as I will explain next. Together with all my research work, as a scientist, I feel that we have an ethical obligation to share what we know, to share our findings, to share our views with the broader society. So as much as I could, I have been giving a lot of talks to different audiences in sharing, my ideas about AI or my projects about AI in many different talks and internationally and nationally, because I think it's something that is very important. I've also had a lot of advisory positions and so forth. And this is sort of like a short overview of my journey in AI. And at the same time, while I was having this journey, society has had, and collectively, we have had a technological journey that has been incredible for the past 15, 20 years, and that has brought us to where we are today. So now I wanted to share with you this other journey in technology and in AI that I think will be helpful for all of us to really reflect about where we want to go from here. So I've been talking about mobile phones. It is obvious that we live in a mobile phone, in a mobile world. For over 2 years, there's more than twice the number of mobile phones in the world than people. More people have access to a mobile phone than people have access to water or sanitation. And the phone is always with us. So it really modulates our life experience. We go to see a concert, and we don't look at the concert. We are kind of like recording the concert. We go to meet and listen to the first and only female candidate to the United States presidency, and we don't look at her at the face. We are just like, taking a selfie with her. But this is not just a phenomenon in developed countries. More importantly so, it's a phenomenon in developing countries, like this picture illustrates. It shows all these migrants lifting their phones expectantly to the sky, looking for coverage to be able to communicate with their families. But it's not just a mobile phone that we live in. We live in a world where increasingly we are going to coexist with autonomous cars, driven by AI, obviously, in a world where we are also going to coexist and interact with social robots, a world where every day all of us interact with tens of digital services that are controlled by AI algorithms, a world where any of us will be able to go to space without being professional astronauts. I think this is absolutely amazing. A world where we can talk to technology and it can hear us and understand us. That was part of science fiction when I started my PhD. A world of smart cities, of 3D printers, of immense amounts of data that we are generating in science and that we can only make sense using AI. And also a world where each of us, the Homo sapiens, we are being augmented with technology. Right now, we wear the technology, but soon we will have the technology inside us. And that raises important questions about what does it mean to be Homo sapiens. We live in a world where, from the 5 most populated countries, 3 are digital countries that didn't exist 20 years ago. The most populated country is Facebook. The second one is WhatsApp. And the 5th one is Instagram. Countries that are governed by the same president that hasn't been elected democratically. And we live in a world where not only us are augmented, but the physical space is also augmented with technology in what is called the Internet of Things. We add sensors to the physical world. There is lots of sensors in Barcelona, I'm sure, that are monitoring everything. This Internet of Things, only in 2022, surpassed 13,000 million of connected devices. So we are adding connectivity and intelligence also to the physical world. To the point that if in 2003, there were only 0.08 connected devices per human on the planet, in 2020, we surpassed 6.5. So this is an exponential growth. This ubiquity of technology, what it leads, of course, is a massive generation of data, what is called big data. Data that is not only because of the volume, but more importantly because of its characteristics, of its variety, of the velocity by which it's created, of the diversity, we can only make sense using machine learning or AI algorithms. And of course, not only we live in a world where there is no barriers digitally, but we also have more mobility than ever in our history. And in this mobility, of course, is great, but it's also vulnerability, as we saw in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. The virus spread really fast because of this mobility that we have. In sum, all these different technological advances, what they have led is to a new industrial revolution, which is called the fourth industrial revolution. And this revolution, similarly to previous revolutions, is profoundly changing every aspect of society. It represents an intimate relationship between the physical world, the digital world, and the biological world. And it is enabled by several disciplines like nanotechnology, genetic engineering, biotechnology, and of course, artificial intelligence, which I'm sure all of you have heard about it. But what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is a discipline that exists since the 50s. And it's a discipline within computer science or engineering. And it has as a goal the development of computational systems that can exhibit some kind of intelligent behavior, taking as a reference human intelligence. So if we want to achieve artificial intelligence, we need to define and characterize human intelligence. And of course, the first conclusion that we reach is that we don't fully understand human intelligence. And we humans have a lot of things that we can do. For example, we can perceive the world that we live in, recognize what we are perceiving, and react. We can plan. We can solve problems. We learn constantly. We adapt. In fact, if we didn't adapt, we probably would disappear as a species. And we have multiple intelligences. We have social intelligence, emotional intelligence, musical intelligence, logic intelligence, verbal intelligence, and so forth. In the same way, within AI, there are different areas that try to replicate some of these abilities. For example, the area within AI that tries to replicate the ability that we have to see is computer vision. It's the area that analyzes videos and images automatically and recognizes faces and recognizes cats in videos and so forth. The area within AI that is trying to replicate the ability that we have to communicate would be speech recognition and natural language processing and so forth. Historically, AI systems have been divided into three types. Well, this is important to know because today there is a lot of talks about one of these types. The first type is what we have today. It's called narrow AI or weak AI. This is all the AI that we have today. These are AI systems that are very good at one task, probably better than the best of humans, but they only know how to do that task. For example, the best chess player in the world is an AI algorithm for decades, but that AI algorithm only knows how to play chess. And in fact, it doesn't really know what chess is. And if we change the rules, it could have problems to adapt. The second type of AI, or the second level of performance, is what is called general AI, general artificial intelligence. And that's what the discipline of AI wants to achieve. It wants to achieve an artificial intelligence with the same level of competence and complexity that a human, including very difficult concepts such as consciousness. I think we are very far from having general artificial intelligence, and I think that as a society, we should decide whether we want or we don't want to build a general artificial intelligence. And there are authors that say, well, why stop in human intelligence? If the computing power continues increasing exponentially, we could computationally surpass human intelligence. This is the concept of superintelligence that some authors propose, like Nick Bostrom from the University of Oxford. By definition, we don't understand superintelligence in the same way as an ant or a little insect doesn't understand our intelligence because it's an intelligence superior to ours. The moment in time where, hypothetically, we would computationally surpass human intelligence is called the singularity. Again, I think we are very far away from achieving a superintelligence. And again, I think the most important question is whether we human, we Homo sapiens, want or we don't want, should or we shouldn't, aim to achieve a superintelligence. If we look at biology, I would say most of the biologically more intelligent beings don't treat very well the less intelligent beings. So if we take that as a reference, maybe it's not in our interest to create a superintelligence. Historically, there have been two schools of AI. And I think this is very important to understand where we are today. The first school is called the top-down school, or the symbolic logic school, or the classic AI school. And this school comes from the following observation. We humans know a lot of things. If we are able to program all the knowledge that we have into a computer using symbols, and then we use the rules of logic to derive new knowledge from this knowledge, then we could create an artificial intelligence. This school was the dominant school in AI since it was created until roughly the mid-90s. The canonical example of this school are expert systems that maybe you heard about because they were the first commercialization of AI. The second school, which is the school that I belong to and is the most prominent school today, is called the bottom-up or the connectionist school. And this school comes from a different observation, which is the following. Biologically intelligent beings learn from experience, learn from interactions, learn from data. If we want to create an artificial intelligence, maybe we should invent algorithms that also learn from data. The canonical example of this school are neural networks, which are at the heart of every AI system that we use today. But neural networks are not new. And I wanted to share this article from the New York Times from 1958, where it describes a new device built by the Navy that learns by doing. And what the article describes is the simplest neural network that there is, which is this neural network called the perceptron. And it was invented by Frank Rosenblatt. And because there were no computers, this is the perceptron. It actually has a physical implementation. And even at the time, he said, this system learns like humans. It makes mistakes at the beginning, but then as it gets more data, it improves. And he even dared to predict, in the future, there will be perceptrons that will recognize people, recognize faces, or translate from one language to the next, which is exactly what we have today. Within each of these schools, there is a lot of different areas of knowledge. So in the top-down school, we have logic, obviously. We have optimization. We have knowledge representation. We have learning theory. And within the bottom-up school, which I said is the most dominant one today, we have all the areas related with computational perception, machine learning. Within machine learning, there is deep learning, reinforcement learning, and so forth. And while these two schools have been somewhat confronted historically, in reality, any AI system today that actually works and that we use has two components. It has a very strong data-driven component, a component learning from data, but it also has a very powerful knowledge-based component to improve and to make more sense of the interpretation of the data. There are many authors that establish a parallelism between the role that electricity played in the second industrial revolution with the role that AI is playing in the fourth industrial revolution. Why? Because they do share some properties. AI, similarly to electricity, is a general purpose discipline, a general purpose tool, transversal. It can be applied to any field. The same as we can apply electricity to any sector, to any field, we can apply AI to any field. It's also invisible because it's software. They are computer programs, and it's ubiquitous. AI enables us to handle complexity, but it's also complex, and obviously is updatable because it's software. But AI has some properties that are extremely powerful. First of all, not only it lets us understand the past or interpret the present, but it enables us to make predictions about the future. And secondly, with AI, not only we can interpret data, but we can generate data in what is called generative AI. We can generate text, images, videos, code, molecules. And these two properties are what really make AI very special and extremely powerful. If AI exists since the 1950s, maybe we can ask ourselves, why is the fourth industrial revolution happening today? Why didn't it happen in the 1950s? And the answer is because of the confluence of three very important factors. These three factors have propelled the exponential growth of the bottom-up, the data-driven techniques in AI. And what are the factors? So they're very easy to guess. The first one is data. I mentioned it. We live in a world of data. We have huge amounts of data. We need the data for these models to be able to actually learn something. The second one is computation. Thanks to Moore's law, we have access to very powerful computers at very affordable cost. And the third ingredient is the models. And the models are basically very sophisticated, very complex neural networks inspired in the perceptron that I showed from the 1950s, but a lot more complex with many, many, many more parameters, many, many more neurons. And those very complex models are called deep neural networks, so deep learning models. And those are the ones that, trained with massive amounts of data and huge amounts of computation, are behind the revolution that we are experiencing today. To the point that since 2016, we have been achieving landmarks that were part of science fiction. You know, in 2016, AlphaGo won against some of the best players in the world in the game of Go. It's a much more complex game than chess, and it thought that to be very hard for AI to achieve. Or in 2017, when AI Liberatus won against some of the best poker players in the world. I don't know if anyone here that plays poker. Anyone? No? So poker is an incomplete information game. In chess and in Go, you see all the pieces of both players. You know exactly where each person is. In poker, you don't know which cards the other opponents have. And it's always been said that poker is a psychological game because people can lie. And somehow it was thought that only humans can play poker because it has this psychology component. Until 2017, when this AI program, won against humans without letting them win a single game, and showed that maybe it's not just a human ability. Or in 2018, when an AI algorithm won against the best chess player in the world, which is another AI algorithm, having learned how to play chess by itself, by playing millions of times against itself. Or in 2021, when AlphaFold was able to infer the 3D structure of proteins, or since 2022, this eruption of generative AI tools, techniques that not only, as I said, interpret data, but actually generate data. And I think it's very important to reflect on this revolution of generative AI. And I wanted to provide this data so you get an idea of the impact and the context. Large language models are the main types of models that are used to generate text. These are the type of models that are underneath ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is built on top of a large language model, which is GPT 3.5 or GPT-4. These large language models are massive neural networks, really big neural networks. Here, this graph shows how much time it took different very popular services to reach 1 million users. So we see that Netflix needed 3.5 years, Facebook 10 months, and ChatGPT only needed 5 days to reach 1 million users. But what happens with 100 million users? Here we see how long it took them to reach 100 million users. What it took Spotify 11 years, or Netflix 10 years, or Facebook 4.5 years, it took ChatGPT 2 months. In 2 months, there were over 100 people using ChatGPT. This has never happened before. The impact that these tools are having in society is unprecedented. And that's why it's so important to really understand their strengths, but also their weaknesses. And of course, ChatGPT is my favorite poet of the time. So I asked it to compose a poem about the Hipàtia Prize. And this is what it composed. And of course, because it's multilingual, I asked it to compose it in English and in Catalan. So this is what it composed in English. In Barcelona's halls, where knowledge thrives, the Academia Europaea's beacon shines. The Hipàtia Prize, a tribute so grand, to scientific journeys, we raise our hands. In honor steps of scholars, we trace the brilliance that lies our intellectual space. Barcelona and the Academia, a union profound. In quest of wisdom, our futures are bound. Not too bad. And now in Catalan. So this is what he wrote. A Barcelona, on el saber floreix, l'Acadèmia Europea, el cor es enlluerna, el Premi Hipàtia, com un raig de llum, per la ciència brillant, el reconeixement és profund. Els savis avancen amb pas ferm i clar, il·luminant el camí com estels a brillar, Barcelona i l'Acadèmia unides per sempre cap al futur del coneixement amb esperança que s'emprenga. Not too bad, it only took 2 seconds to write these poems with a little bit of prompt engineering. And of course, it's not just poems. We can ask these tools to generate images. None of these images has been created by any human, of course, for creative purposes, but also for political purposes, giving way to what is called deep fakes. We can put real people in situations that were never there. And this raises a huge amount of societal and ethical concerns that we need to address. But beyond these examples, I think it's very important that all of you realize that it is AI algorithms, the ones that decide which friends we have, which updates we see from our friends, which information we find on the internet, which movies we see, which books we buy, which music we listen to. As I said before, we can talk to technology and it can understand us thanks to AI. Increasingly, AI algorithms decide how we move in the physical world, because it is AI algorithms the ones that decide how to go from A to B, taking into account traffic, weather, or the economic interests of the people that are developing those algorithms. It's been many, many years that stock transactions and manufacturing processes are automated. I also said at the beginning we can have self-driving cars, obviously, without AI, and we won't be able to make huge advances in science also without AI. But increasingly so, AI algorithms are going to be deciding which treatment is applied to us in medicine, or which diagnosis is given to us, or of which judicial sentence is applied to us. And because of the penetration of AI in these very consequential aspects of people's lives, AI is not a scientific or technological discipline anymore. AI has become a political issue, as this graph illustrates. This graph shows the number of times that AI in blue or machine learning in red were mentioned in the UK Parliament and the US Congress since several decades. And we can see that it was only until 2016 that suddenly there was this huge interest towards AI. And it's therefore not a surprise that more than 50 countries in the world have written their AI strategies. From my perspective, any AI strategy should cover 5 key dimensions. Any development of AI, be it research, innovation, or deployment, should address these 5 dimensions. First one, technology. Obviously, we are talking about a technological discipline. We need to know about the technology. Secondly, the legal and regulatory dimension. As you probably know, Europe approved in December the AI Act, the first transversal regulation of AI in the world. Third, we have the ethical dimension. Fourth, we have the people, planet, and society dimension, including the necessary investment in education, which we are not taking very seriously, by the way. And fifth, we have the economic and labor dimension, because obviously, like in any other industrial revolution, there is a significant impact on the labor market and on the economic systems. I can't go in detail into most of them, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of them, which are 2 that are very dear to my heart, which is the social dimension and the ethical dimension. On the social dimension, I could talk about different areas, but I'm only going to focus about one of them, which is the immense value that AI has as a driver for social good. I'm going to highlight now some of the biggest challenges that we face as a species, and my message is we need AI, to address these challenges. Challenges like the aging of the population. We know that Spain is one of the most aged countries in the world. What used to be a pyramid is becoming an inverted pyramid. This is not just a demographic challenge. This is a full societal challenge, a public health challenge, an economic challenge, a social challenge. We need AI to help us address this challenge. We also live in a world that has limited resources. And if we continue consuming at the rate that we are consuming, we're going to need 2 planets Earth, which we don't have. Unfortunately, those resources are also not homogeneously allocated in the world. In fact, in the 21st century, we are being witnesses of a polarization in the accumulation of wealth. For example, the 100 richest people in the world have more than the 4,000 poorest people in the world. We also live in a world with increasing energy needs, as we experienced last winter, energy that is not necessarily renewable, and that is contributing to one of the biggest challenges that we face, which is the climate emergency. We know that the average surface temperatures on the planet are increasing. In consequence, the sea levels are increasing, and the intensity and frequency of natural disasters is also increasing. And of course, we live in a world that is susceptible to pandemics that can completely paralyze all activity for over 2 years. As I said, we need AI to address these challenges. In fact, I'm not the only person saying this. When the millennia goals were ending in 2015, the United Nations was defining the new goals, which became the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The Secretary General of the United Nations at the time realized that there was this potential of using data and AI to help accelerate the achievement of these goals, and he called for a data revolution. And they commissioned a report called the Data Revolution Report, written by a number of experts, including Professor Sandy Pentland, my PhD thesis, where they outlined a vision of how data and AI could help us accelerate the achievement of the new goals that were being defined, that were the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And for the first time, at the same time as these goals were being defined, there has been a global movement that I belong to on how we can accelerate and we can measure better if we are achieving or not these goals using data and using AI. There are many areas of impact, but there are many projects, documented projects, on how AI can help us in the context of natural disasters, economic development and financial inclusion, smart cities and urban studies, transportation, public health and pandemics, energy, population studies. I would say every census office in the world is exploring alternative data sources to create more efficient and more accurate censuses, and also agriculture. I don't have the time to go into detail into any of these areas. If you are interested, there's a lot of papers about it. It's one of the areas that we work on at ELIS Alicante. I won't go into detail about this, but during the pandemic, we actually helped a lot in using data and AI to make better decisions, particularly for the Valencian government. I'll just skip this because of the interest of time, but we did a lot of different projects, from analyzing large-scale mobility to building AI-based models to predict the pandemic curve, predictive models of hospital occupancy, and also a citizen science project with over 700,000 answers to understand the impact of the pandemic on people's lives. And our work had a lot of world impact, not only regional impact. And our AI algorithms, for example, were declared the world winners of the X Prize Pandemic Response Challenge, which was really a great honor because it was the first time that a team from Spain was winning an X Prize competition. And then to finalize, I wanted to just mention 10 ethical challenges or 10 limitations of today's AI systems that we need to address if we want AI to be a driver for social good. I've said that we need AI to address the big challenges of the 21st century, but it is not guaranteed that it will happen if we don't make it happen. And to make it happen, we really need to be aware of some of the limitations of today's AI systems. Limitations such as the violation of privacy computationally using AI algorithms, the unauthorized use of data that is protected by copyright or by intellectual property rights to train these systems in a completely opaque manner, the challenge of algorithmic discrimination, biases, and stereotyping, the challenge of the lack of transparency of these really complex algorithms. Just to give you a number, the large language model that is underneath the free version of ChatGPT, it is estimated that it has 175 billion parameters. There is no human being on the planet that can understand what this massive network is doing. Challenges such as the subliminal manipulation of our behavior. I would say all of us that are here see our behavior manipulated every day by AI algorithms that are trying to make us click here or there or watch another video or buy something. Challenges like the lack of veracity. I showed the examples of these deep fakes, these images of famous people that didn't exist. This is a massive challenge, particularly in electoral processes and in processes related to the creation of a public opinion about a certain topic. The excessive carbon footprint, this is not a very well-known challenge, but these massive networks need massive amounts of computation, which means they need massive amounts of energy, which means they are anything but carbon neutral. Every time we ask ChatGPT to do something for us, we are contributing to climate change. We are actually having a significant CO2 footprint. So this is something that we need to address, and in fact, there is an area within AI called sustainable AI or green algorithms that is trying to come up with methods that are more energy efficient. Another challenge is the lack of diversity in the field. I think there is only about 12% of women that are experts in AI in the world, but also a lack of diversity in the algorithms that tend to stereotype us and create what is called filter bubbles and echo chambers that reinforce our own beliefs, and in part, it is believed that it's contributing to the polarization of society. Another challenge is the asymmetry, the fact that there is this clear dominance in AI by an oligopoly of companies, basically. And the last challenge, which is maybe not very well known, is that none of these algorithms is perfect, and they are also vulnerable to being hacked in an area which is called adversarial AI, which has as an objective to fool AI algorithms. For example, if there is an AI algorithm that recognizes faces and I don't want to be recognized, I can wear glasses with a certain frame, or I can put a little sticker on my face that for any human, it will obviously be me. They will still recognize me as me, but the algorithm somehow completely breaks and doesn't see me or recognizes me as a different person. To remember how to tackle these issues, well, in ELIS Alicante, we have one research area that is only devoted to this, to addressing all the ethical challenges of AI and understanding the societal impact of AI, and to remember what to ask when we are developing an AI algorithm or when we are using an AI algorithm. I like summarizing the desiderata in this acronym called FATEN, which I think will make it easier to remember. So I think as a society, we should demand FATEN algorithms. So what is FATEN? La F is for fairness. We should make sure that the algorithms that we use don't discriminate, and they have guarantees for fairness. The A is triple. The first one is for autonomy. They should always preserve the principle of human autonomy. This is a very important principle on Western ethics, the principle that says that human beings should be free to decide their own actions and their own thoughts. And as I said, we are being manipulated very frequently by AI algorithms. So we should have guarantees of the preservation of autonomy. The A is also for accountability. There should be very clear attribution of the consequences and the responsibility of the use of a certain AI algorithm in society. And the A is also for augmentation. I think the model should be a model of augmenting us, not of replacing us. I think we have an immense opportunity for AI to help each of us achieve our own potential, but not necessarily to replace us. The T for FATEN is for trust. We need to be able to trust the technology that we use and that we depend on, and it's also for transparency. There has to be transparency in which data is being collected, in when we are interacting with an AI algorithm or not, and also transparency in terms of the algorithms themselves. The E, and here I'm cheating a little bit, is for the principle of beneficence, so maximizing the positive impact with diversity, with veracity, with sustainability. And the E is also for the necessary investment in education at all levels. Education at the compulsory level, education to all the professionals whose professions are being impacted by AI, and education also to citizens and also to our policymakers and our representatives, so they can make wise decisions about the technology that they need to deploy and regulate. And the N is for the principle of non-maleficence, so minimizing the negative impact, preserving privacy with reliability, security, and reproducibility. And I conclude with this quote by Stephen Hawking that inspired me, even though maybe he didn't say much. He said, AI is probably the best or the worst that will happen to humanity, and I invite you all to join our cause, which is to make sure that is the best thing that happened to us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Gràcies, Fisis, per posar la música en aquest acte. Gràcies a la flamant Premi Hipàtia, Núria, per les paraules anteriors. Moltíssimes gràcies a tots els assistents en aquest Premi Europeu de Ciència Hipàtia. Moltíssimes gràcies per la vostra assistència en aquest també flamant Saló de Cent de l'Ajuntament de Barcelona, and also those who watch the event in streaming. A tots els que sou aquí, quedeu-vos perquè farem una foto de família i després se us oferirà un refrigeri al Saló Gòtic per acabar de celebrar-ho. Moltíssimes gràcies de nou per assistir. Thanks to everybody to be here.